So, hello, I'm Markus Feilner. Some of you may know me. I've been around the Linux and open source world since 1994. Started really early with Linux and had 3 operating systems at the time on my computer. And since the early 2000s, I'm an open source journalist working for Linux magazine and the Heise IX, a big German tech magazine also. And super, thank you. So
you can use the
wonderful, perfect. So I've done a lot of things. I was also team lead at SUSE, at documentation team lead, and having done lots of things. We don't have that much time, so I better be fast now also. But within this talk, I have a lot of links and hints for you where to go to get much more information, because all of you that are here probably are only here because you heard the term Confluence and you like it a lot, and like everybody does. And we started 6 minutes late, but we have 15 minutes left, I guess. Good. Okay, you ping me 5 minutes before we're done. Thanks. So this is a presentation that is kind of typical for me. I'm going to rush through a lot of topics, but there's a lot of links inside, and you can go and find a lot of things. If you're not a German native speaker, you will find some articles that I wrote that you have to translate. But the best thing is that something we did in December or November last year is a large tabelle chart of lots of the open source alternatives to Atlassian. And I'm not going to dive deep into the things that happened with Atlassian and the 15th of February coming up. I'm sure you're all aware of that the support is running out, and so but that's a different thing. I'm going to talk a little bit about knowledge management and about a concept that we found in SUSE in the documentation team that I called agile recursive documentation. And generally, the problem in knowledge management, and that is what Atlassian actually is about, is that we all sort of underestimate the problem. I'm doing this Bush reference on purpose, but it's like an iceberg, and this is probably the iceberg that hit the Titanic. Yeah, an original photo that I found, and I've been using it in knowledge management presentations because, like icebergs, there is implicit and explicit knowledge in companies. You have a lot of knowledge that is documented, that is fine, that everybody knows, but there is a lot of Rumsfeld reference, unknown unknowns. And in companies yes, there is. And about 80% is in companies today is assumed to be implicit knowledge. So knowledge that is there, but nobody knows that it's there, and people just do it. Yeah, and that's just announcing. Doing knowledge management now will not help against that and will not mitigate that in any way, because you have to take the people. You have to, I forgot something here. The implicit knowledge is also referring to, for example, people that go into in a longer holiday or that go into old age pension and that are gone. And there are stories of, I can tell a lot of stories about that, what happens when the people are gone and you have to find out what actually did they do and how did they do it. Some people that I know, they had to understand, had a Perl programmer in the company, and the Perl programmer had called all of the processes and scripts of his whole big setup after figures from the Simpsons. So they found a process that was called like APU. And they were like, what does it do? What does it do? And then they found out, it forks a lot. And and only once they knew this, they could figure out what the whole Perl thing does. But there's many stories like that. But in the end, you have to inspire and motivate your people to follow you. So you need solutions that work, you need processes and software that works and that the people like in your company. So as many as you are here, there will be lots and lots of different solutions in the end, because documentation and knowledge management is teamwork. That's one article I wrote for the Linux magazine together with my former colleagues from SUSE. It's always teamwork, and you always have to work together, and you have lots and lots of different people in the company. I once heard that when I was a consultant, we are the pathfinders, the mountain guides. We are the ones that find the trails, and then we tell others how to go them. And as we have different people in the mountains, you have the locals, you have us, the pathfinders or whatever, you have the tourists, and the locals and other beings. So you have to make sure that everybody understands what you're talking about when you give them a description about something. And for that, we have the engineering part or the scientific background. And this is all, every one of these is so huge and a large topic that you can do university studies on some of them. Knowledge management itself, organizing knowledge, process management, quality assurance, and then all of that basically combined into some things like knowledge process quality management, that is KPQM, yes. And at the end, has to be a presentation layer. That's what the people see. And that's the web editor with which we work. But in the background, you have to do lots of ordering, indexing with metadata. Anybody here who knows the term RDF still, the semantic web and all of that stuff? Yes, that's the background. And then you have taxonomies, terms, terminologies, registers, tables of contents, notations, catalogs, and it's a huge scientific realm that you can read books on each of those. But for a company, it's important that you do the needful, not all. And the representation, showing it to the readers, the customers, is actually the mapping of the information. How do you do this with models, glossaries, how-tos, encyclopedias, documentation? And you see there's already the type, the form of how you present things is coming in with glossaries. And well, of course, what I'm going to tell you is the right way. I found this yesterday in Brussels here, and I really liked it. Maybe some of you remember Magritte. This is not a pipe, yeah? So, and somebody painted this on his garage door. This is the way, yeah? And I still have to dive into the apple. I think the apple is also a Magritte thing, but the cloud, and I really like that. So, of course, what I'm presenting to you is the way, how to do it. No, it's just a suggestion. Because if you don't have time for all that scientific research and all of that, maybe, and that is the usual, then you're not alone. It's usual that companies, we don't have time to do the documentation. We don't have time for all that. And then we were at SUSE in the situation, we had 5 people in the doc team, and we were told to grow up to 10 people fast. And the people in the documentation team, they said, we don't have time to teach the new ones. So what we did was we created this agile recursive onboarding. That means we have one new guy in the team, and this new guy will be, for example, the mentor for the next new guy or girl. Yeah? And we created a mentor who is in charge of teaching the new guy, and the new guy would, for example, as an article in Linux magazine that I did, and some of why we call it agile is because we're using agile tools and methods, yeah, like a Kanban board for it. So this is what the new guy saw, not at this one, but it's structured. This is an easy tool in Nextcloud that you can use, for example, for the start. This is the task that the new guy had, or this is the tasks that the mentor had to do before the first day. These are the tasks that the new guy would have to do on the first day. This is in the first week, and so on. You know, Kanban, pretty easy there. And out of this came the first documentation of the job, of the documentation job, the description, what he's doing. And this is an individual board for a new team member. And this new person was, from the start, involved in making the team better, making the documentation, everything better, and yada, 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 and it was recursive because the next one would again start at the same point, but with the new improvements from the last one. And that is exactly what you can do with documentation and knowledge management in a company. You can start documenting things and have people be a part of it. That is the most important. Take them with you. There is other things that are really cool, but only larger companies usually can apply it. There's things that Stack Overflow and Reddit, those companies do really good. You can have your customers, your readers, a signpost, a triage by user pane, so the important documentation items first, yeah, and what nobody needs will disappear from the list, and topics that are interested will go up in lists in documentation. So if you're writing on something nobody ever reads, maybe you could have invested your time better. But I'm jumping over to the tools because that is what we're talking about. And yeah, so in decision making is also very clear. You have this important, regular, not important ones, and thereby you decide what to document on this scale. Huh? But it's probably not you at FOSDEM who decides that. It's usually the management, because there's cost and risk involved. Yeah? So this is the stuff that we need to document, because if this guy is run over by a car, we won't know how to do this process, and this will be a lot of money, and our customers will be angry, and what yada. Yeah? The team has the expertise, the knowledge, or documentation team has the expertise, but the management knows about money and risk. So that is why they have to actually define what. So if you're not, yeah, and the tool, oh, super. Good. The tool that you're using should be the last decision that you take. No, otherwise you end up in technology-driven development or design. I don't know if you heard that before. That is, for example, happening with AI a lot. We want to do something with AI, or we want to do something in Rust. We want to do something in, what is this new framework that we bought? Oh, in Go, let's do something in Go, or whatsoever. And that's not uncommon that a company buys some development framework and then they think, okay, what can we do with it? It should be the other way around. You should, as in project management, you should see what you want, what you need, all the needs, and then the risk and the money involved, and then in the end look which product does match my requirements the best. Yeah? Well, with Atlassian, that's usually not the case, also because it's just simply there, and for a long time it has been there without competition. And now in the last years, Atlassian did these moves to the cloud, this increase of license cost, and and they have, of course, they have a good product, a viable product, and it's highly integrated with ticketing, and you remember Trello. And I like to call them something like the Microsoft of knowledge, because everybody in the development world uses it, and it's hard to get around it. And most people are not very happy about it, and especially since I learned that the price increase that comes now or came now for small companies can be up to 1,000% that they have to pay, because the small bundles start at 500 users or something like that, and it's not the usual increase. The usual increase is something I think like 10 times more than before, but so not that bad. Yeah, and so I did also an article on that I don't have a screenshot in there, but it's they're forcing the users into the cloud. They say no, we don't, because they can buy a data center license. That's the one that's like 100 times more expensive than before. But they reacted also to that, but there's other issues also. But them being an Australian company and thus part of the Five Eyes, which is the five countries that are very closely working together in terms of the NSA stuff. So there is GDPR issues. They even told their customers in 2018, when we were working with Trello at SUSE, a mail came in that told us we shouldn't put business secrets into Trello, because that might not comply with data protection rules in Europe already then. And we're like, what the fuck are you doing? Knowledge management tool, and you're telling us not to put business knowledge in there? And so, yeah. And then recently there have been more issues. There have also been security issues, and also, but that's okay. That every software has that. But then there is also the fact that they are more focused on a global market than, for example, on a German or European market. So we had the situation that we had severe issues at a company I was working with umlauts, the German umlauts, Ä, Ö, Ü, you know. And they said, well, and we opened the ticket, and the answer was, oh, yeah, most of our customers are using English. We are very sorry about that. And we're like, fine, okay, good. But that's just basics. And so last year, and that's actually the core part of this, I did with Tim Schürmann together, we did 2 articles in the IT Administrator, where we took a deep dive into the open source alternatives for Atlassian. Both of them like 5 pages and a large chart that I have here. Yeah, that's 2 pages. That wasn't in the printed, that's only online, and the link is, this is the link to it. It's in the presentation that will be on the FOSDEM website. Yeah, and nice take the photos. Tell me when you're done, then I go back. Good. So we came to the solution that there is a lot of alternatives, and a lot of them also are facing a boom. Some of them say we have so many calls right now from people that want to get rid of Atlassian that we can't handle it all. And one of the companies is a friends of mine from Regensburg, where I come from in Bavaria. And they say it's most of them are customers that don't want to use Atlassian anymore. They don't want to do the move. And now they have this deadline coming up on the 15th of February when their support is ending for their old product. So yeah, so many customers are turning away from Atlassian. The priorities have shifted. And as you see in this table, I'm going to show you a picture of each of those, and hopefully, if my brain is good enough, I will say a few words to each of those. 5 minutes, great. So in this list, we have Blue Spice. Just don't worry, I'll tell you more about the names, just name dropping now. Blue Spice, Bookstack, it's alphabetic, yeah? DokuWiki, FOSDEM, MediaWiki, OpenKM, Outline, PMWiki, Wiki.js, and XWiki. That's the ones we compared in this list. I'm sure there's more out there, huh? But we tried to address those that are open source and have enterprise support. So that's what we... This wrong laptop. And the first one, of course, the biggest knowledge management software is, of course, Wikipedia. Yeah? But Wikipedia with MediaWiki software has one big flaw. Huh? It's not, it scales obviously very good. Yeah? It can run the 7th largest website in Germany, I think. But it has only one use case. And that is not the enterprise. Clearly, it has the use case of making Wikipedia run and work forever and really good. And so, I mean, you all know Wikipedia, and you all know that this is already the editor view. I don't know if you've been to Wikipedia recently. Last year or so, they integrated this WYSIWYG editor. You don't have to work in Markdown, whatever it was, anymore. You can really type inside the text. And from them, there is an enterprise distribution that's called Blue Spice. That's the guys from Regensburg that I've been talking about. Disclaimer, they're a friend of mine, and I blog for their website. So, but that's you can make your own image about them. They have a lot of things that enterprises need. For example, something like privacy administration. So they add usability and add enterprise features on it. Yeah, and they're open source. They're based on MediaWiki, and they have several versions up to cloud and farm and SaaS and stuff. And we have XWiki. There was just a talk, so I hope I'm not saying anything that's wrong. XWiki is also very old, and they are, in my opinion, really interesting because they do a lot of innovative features that go way beyond the wikis, like their CryptPad and which is sort of like a end-to-end browser-based collaboration office thingy space that is actually, if I understand it right, serverless. Yeah. And so they are and then there is DokuWiki. DokuWiki is something that is often found in scientific and or educational realm. I've been working with Blue Spice, I've been working with XWiki, I've been working with DokuWiki. And DokuWiki I found at a company I was consulting that is from the space agencies, from German aeronautics space. It was the GAF. So this world somehow, yeah. And so they have a lot of people that are experts, and that's where the expert systems start. I think that both XWiki and Blue Spice is something that you don't need much expert knowledge to work with. Yeah? But with DokuWiki it starts. But DokuWiki is actually really cool because you have some features that others don't have. For example, you have a shortcut, and then the page that you're working is a presentation. Just with one thing, and that's really cool. And then we have TWiki. We just heard. I think was it TWiki that you just heard, or XWiki? The previous. Okay, and that is it came from. The TWiki was the old project, and FOSWiki and Q.wiki are forks from it. They have a lot of extensions and a lot of features also, but I haven't really seen them that much in companies, and they are very. I can. How do you say they? You have to see if they work for you, but they are not. For me, they are not like a valid Atlassian replacement, because with these you need to be an expert to use them. Yeah? And other ones, there's a lot of more. I found these 4, and I think I'm good in the time. There is, for example, Bookstack, which is another very interesting project that works with books and shelves. So this German here. So Bookstack has this imagery of the knowledge is stored in books, in bookshelves, and chapters in books. So they always use those metaphors from books. So you have pages, chapters, books, and shelves. And this is the page of the Berechtigung, the access rules, and